Check, 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 check. Motherfucker. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Fucking thing. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Check, check, check. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Okay, here we go. Okay, so they want. Check, check, check. Check, 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 check. It's fine. I think it was fine before. Check, check, check. Motherfucker. I'm gonna put a hat on. I put a hat on so that my face looks longer, and I grew my beard so that my chin looks longer, so my face doesn't look so round. All right, here we go. And I wear that glasses so my head doesn't look like a thumb. Okay, so the person he wanted to do deadlifts, and that's cool. Like doing your own personal research is totally cool and perfectly fine. I guess that when I'm a coach and I hear what people want, and I'm reasonably flexible with my methodology, so I can kind of work with a lot of kind of individual requests. I hear want to learn to squat, deadlift, bench press, and I help them do that. But again, this is my own personal. I should have been able to understand why. Should have asked why. I didn't. I didn't ask why they wanted to squat and deadlift and so and so. To just question why they wanted to do it, to make sure that the reasons they wanted to do it were correct or in line with their goals. And yeah, so they were somewhat in line with their goals, but when I questioned why, which was, I guess it was second session in, I managed to slide into the conversation why they wanted to do these big strength training exercises, and they didn't have a particularly good reason for wanting to do them. Perfect, cool. Means I can open up the type of training to include things which are possibly more in line with their goals. And not to say that the squat and the deadlift wasn't in line with their goals. It was possibly not quite the right thing for them to get uh, results. I guess quick results, or there are other movements and other types of training which I would have probably started with, given if I had the exact idea of what they wanted to achieve and why they wanted to achieve it. So, for example, the deadlift is a fantastic exercise for building overall strength and to a certain extent building muscle. Um, the deadlift is inherently a very difficult exercise to master. So you spend a lot of time learning how to deadlift and not a huge amount of time actually deadlifting to the intensity required to build a good amount of muscle. But alternatively, the leg press requires no learning at all. You can jump in with, if you don't have a knee injury, if you don't have a back injury, or if you don't feel any stress or pain in your back, you can do a leg press today at a super difficult intensity without needing to worry about getting injured. So it's just really hard to overlook the leg press as a fantastic option if you're trying to build muscle and you're not the type of person who wants to go through a lengthy process of learning learning the technique of deadlifting, fixing imbalances, taking care of your back, or all these things. So, and I love teaching the deadlift, uh, but I also like best. I like to help people get where they want to be using the smartest methodology. So this comes back to, okay, I'll talk about that in a sec. There is a place for machines. There is a place for free weights in any person's program. It's not like machines are for beginners and barbells advanced. That's like, and I hear that spread, and I'm like, that's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. It's um, like advanced drivers. It's like if you're a beginner driver, you get to drive manual. If you're a beginner driver, you get to drive automatic, and if you're an advanced driver, you get to drive manual. And if you're an advanced driver, you wouldn't drive automatic because that's for beginners. It's about as ridiculous as that. Um, so yeah, leg press machines are fantastic for someone who has the who wants to build muscle, busy, not particularly passionate about the gym. This guy swims, goes paddleboarding. This guy has a fantastic active life. So, like, why would he want to friggin' get stuck in a gym for 3, 4 hours a week, doing boring, repetitious crap? So, get him the simplest methodology possible for him to get him a result, so he can go and enjoy his sick body or whatever. Um, Here is what I think. So I'll be honest here. When I owned my personal training studio, I had a bunch of free weights. I had no equipment. And at that time, I promoted the shit out of free weights. But now that I work at a bigger gym with machines, I am more not comfortable. I don't have a vested interest in promoting free weights. So I'm free to promote whatever equipment I have available. And I guess that is like somewhat manipulative, but I have the benefit of hindsight to recognize that, and interesting for me to see what uh, parts of my communication or education around strength training am I curating based on my personal situation. So, but I don't know. Um, so, free weights for advanced people, machines for beginners. Um, okay, that's what I wanted to say about that. So I had to talk about an industry myth. Did that. Did I introduce myself? Yep. History of strength training. So, okay, so I wanted to talk about something historical about strength training. Um, Mind muscle connection. So, if you have heard this funny topic called mind muscle connection and you're wondering what it is, mind muscle connection is the phenomenon that when you are contracting or activating a muscle, you can actually sense it in your body. There are sensations going on in your body, in the muscles that you're activating, that somewhat give you accurate information about what's going on in that part of your body. So, Arnold Schwarzenegger was made famous by his quotes about feeling the pump in his arms, and he was kind of one of the first people to popularize this mind muscle connection thing. And historically, this mind muscle connection was not uh, confirmed by science, and it was largely ignored by everyone in the exercise science community, but within the bodybuilding and strength, I guess the bodybuilding community, it was super important. And so you would, I've seen within the last 5 years, physiotherapists, other people disprove or attempt to shun using the mind muscle connection as a valid training tool. Uh, and then probably only just recently has it been confirmed by science. Um, and so I guess it's getting talked about more. But this mind muscle connection thing is only very newly mainstream, or it's not even mainstream yet. I don't know. Mind muscle connection. So my hypothesis is that, contrary to the way personal trainers, exercise physiologists, exercise scientists are taught to train people initially, obviously depending on your goal, but we'll talk about it from a strength training and muscle growth perspective. Uh, you're taught to train full body or multi joint body parts to start with. So things like the push up, row, squat, holding it, lunging, deadlift, all that stuff. And only either never or a long way down the track are you ever introduced to this concept where you can actually zone in on a muscle using your brain and really understand what's going on. And that's the mind muscle connection. So, you know, when we're doing these push ups, when you're doing a push up, where is your mind? Your mind might be thinking about how hard it is. Your mind might be thinking, how many reps have I got left? Do I have enough energy to complete it? And if that's what you're thinking about, you have lost your mind muscle connection. It's hard to worry about kind of like how difficult it is when you're intensely focused on the contractions that your muscles having. And so when you're doing push-ups, you're thinking about fatigue, you're thinking how difficult it is, but are you actually thinking about what muscles are being worked? And this is the problem with doing these multi joint exercises that emphasize overall fatigue, um, that are actually difficult to know unless you have done biomechanics at university. You're not going to understand what muscles are contracting or what's happening in your body when you're doing a push up. But the push up is the primary mover of the push up movement, or the primary mover of horizontal abduction of your arm is the pec. So, and then I guess a synergist or a primary mover of your uh, the primary extender of your elbow is the tricep. So there are two places you should be feeling it if you are implementing mind muscle connection and the exercise was simple enough for you to be able to understand what's going on. So you should be feeling it if you're using mind muscle connection, you should be feeling it in your chest during the session and your triceps during the session. But I don't think I've ever felt a push up in my chest or and my triceps during a movement because it's just too complex. My mind's in like how difficult is this? Is my form correct? So how do we achieve mind muscle connection? Um, my hypothesis is that we need to simplify exercises and focus on attaining a level of mind muscle connection before we move on to multi joint exercises, which is the opposite of the way personal trainers are taught to coach. So this is very interesting for me, and this is my own personal approach to coaching. So I think that we should focus on single joint exercises, starting with the simplest joints in our body, the hinge joints. So that is we'll call it the elbow and the knee. So for the elbow, bicep curl, tricep extension, for the knee, leg extension, and leg curl. Leg curl's a slightly more complicated one because that's a little bit more advanced than doing a leg extension. There is a tendency for the pelvis to tilt in a way where the hamstring doesn't contract as well. So I think bicep curl, leg extension, tricep extension, and try hamstring curl, but take it slowly with that and don't expect to feel a mind muscle connection immediately. Mind muscle connection. Keep doing simple movements until you can feel the targeted muscle start to burn. And you can look on if you go to any machine in the gym, there'll be a little picture with a little naked body and a red spot where where the target muscle is, where you're supposed to feel it. And so using single joint exercises, keep doing it, sets of 10, sets of 20, doesn't matter until you feel the burn in the designated area, and then come back to it next week, do it again, there should be some kind of imprint about the expectation of how your muscle's going to feel and your muscle experiencing what you expected to experience. And that is the first step, in my opinion, to achieving to putting yourself in the best position to build muscle, learn strength training so that it's effective. Once you master that, you can move to some of the more simple multi-joint exercises. So, I mean, there's not that many. There's not that many different exercises. If I go into my exercise library, I think I've got like 1,000 or something, but they're all based on 7, 9 foundation movements. They're just slight variations and way to complicate it for the end user, um, because yeah, I guess it's just such a minefield, strength training, and really understanding what's going on and what's right and what's wrongs made a very simple concept incredibly difficult and hard to attain for the average person. So, my muscle connection, single joint, week 1, bicep curl, 3 sets of 10, very light. If you don't feel anything after 10 reps, increase the weight by 1 kilogram. Do another set. Keep doing sets of 10 until you either feel it or you get bored. Same again with the tricep extension, same again with the leg extension, same again with the leg curl. And I will add the ab crunch to the exercises. It is important to get a mind muscle connection with the abs, although it is a little bit more complicated than that. The core is a far more complicated structure than than kind of the elbow or the bicep or the shoulder. But being able to feel your rectus abdominis, your upper abs, contract when you want them to, there's merit to that. Lower abs, very difficult. If you've got some kind of postural anomalies or just anterior pelvic tilt, or the duck ass where you're like butts tucked or whatever, it activating the lower abs is very difficult. Does require going through a process and repetition and learning. So forget the lower abs, learn to contract the upper abs. But you can go like many layers deeper, a few layers deeper when it comes to learning how to get a mind muscle connection with your core. Because there's the pelvic floor muscles. There is I guess to this certain extent, the posterior muscles, so the QL. Then there's the transverse abdominis, which is like a corset that wraps around your abs, you don't get a mind muscle connection with that per se. There are other cues to know whether you are contracting your transverse abdominis. Anyway, that's a story for another day. So what was I saying? Mind muscle connection, most important thing. More important than multi-joint exercises, more important than doing the squat and deadlift. Yeah. Industry myth. Did I do that? Lesson. did a lesson, personal journey. So I am, after probably a year of just completely letting myself go, I have um, started a somewhat consistent diet and exercise program. So it started with a just joining up. I'm a member of Plus Fitness. Well, I'm not a member, but I have access to Plus Fitness, but I don't like training where I work. Joining up to the local Crunch gym and just getting back to doing some upper body exercise consistently. I have bad everything other than bad everything. I've got a torn my right shoulder's fucked. My left shoulder is something's wrong with it now. Hips fucked. That's all good. Not complaining. But it was a real shame when, like, I accept that my hip is fucked. That's not a problem. But it's really, I guess, frustrating when multiple joints are fucked in your body and it seriously limits the type of exercise you can do. And that was a position I was in. And I'm in the best position of anyone to be able to work around that. And so, if anyone can find a solution for me, it's me. So I'm fortunate to be able to figure it out. But it takes it also takes motivation to do it. Um, so doing strength training 3 times a week. I do bench press. I do row. I do very light shoulder press. I don't do any lower body exercise, and I've just included some running, some beach running to my back into my program, and probably in the next week I will be doing swimming. So the goal is to lose initially. So I've got a couple of milestones. I was probably 129 kilograms, which is about the heaviest I've ever been, down to 122 now. First, I guess the next milestone for me is 116 kilograms. Then the next milestone after that is 108. And then 102. These are numbers are not necessarily arbitrary. They're places where I know that I sit comfortably. Um, and I've been these things, and I know how I feel when I am these weights. Um, and then hopefully down, not as I guess not as low as I can go. I want to be under 100 kilograms and stable there for a while, and then see how I can. And then if I can get under 100 by kind of February, probably not enough time. But there's a bodybuilding show in at the end of April, which I wouldn't expect to be in particularly good shape for, or at least be comfortable going up. Um, but yeah, so just preparing for some sort of competition to spice things up a bit. Um, what else? Okay, so this is 30, 40, 50 minutes. Oh my God. I'll end this rant now. The plans to do this once a week, you're probably not going. This is going to be live stream, turned into a podcast, and then cut up into some short clips for people to be able to use. But thank you for listening.